Now, I did just get back from the dentist, so I can't really feel my gums, and I think that's an ideal state to be in when you're filming a video, so let's do it. Bibliophiles of the internet, today I'm here to do the mid-year book check-in tag. Am I a little bit late? Yes. Has everyone else done it? Yes. Do I care? No. Now, you might know this tag by another name, which a lot of people have pointed out is quite ableist, so I modified it because the entire point of this tag is to check in with how you're doing so far with your reading and what books you're still looking forward to in the second half of the year, all that stuff, so let's just call it what it is. The other thing is that the original creator either deleted or privated the original version of this tag for some reason, so I can't credit them properly, and there's some disparity over which prompts are supposed to be included, but I'm just going off the best intel I have, and that's how it's gonna be. But also, a lot of people add their own questions to this tag, which I think is really cool, so I removed a few prompts that didn't really speak to me and put in some other questions I heard when I saw Stephanie Bookish's version of this tag, so her video will also be included down below. Getting right into it, the best book you've read so far in 2023. I don't know why I thought doing this tag would be fun. I'm already not having fun. As a Libra, this question pains me because I just want to list all of my favorite books from this year, and there have been so many, and I don't want any of them to be left out. But I do have to mention by name the very first book I read this year that set the bar unbelievably high, and that was The World and All That It Holds by Alexander Hamon. This is a queer World War I historical epic. It has the feeling, the longevity of a multi-generational saga, but you're just following one character throughout years and years and years of his life. It's about displacement, it's about refugees, it's about queer love, it's about trying to hold on to hope and love when it feels like everything around you is being destroyed. If you don't take my word for it, Lana Wachowski of Matrix fame wrote a sensational blurb for this book that I think is criminally underused in its marketing, so I'm just gonna read it to you. This book is a refuge. Amid the catastrophe and unimaginable loss, you can still find heartbreaking kindness. You can still hear songs and laughter, still know the tender brush of a lover's whiskered cheek. Every page folds itself around you, as comforting as an embrace, and in those pages, you will feel Alexander Hamon's heart beating beside yours. Nothing I can say about this book is gonna top that. Please read it. I do quickly want to give shoutouts to This Thing Between Us, Godly Heathens, No Gods, No Monsters, Chain Gang All-Stars, The Beautiful Something Else, Hijab Butch Blues, He Who Drowned the World, We Could Be So Good. I am not lying when I said it's been a phenomenal reading year so far. Best sequel you've read so far in 2023. At first I thought, I don't think I've read that many sequels this year, but then I counted them and realized I've read more than 10 at this point. For me, this is going to be a tie. I can't answer this question without talking about He Who Drowned the World by Shelley Parker Chan. It's a series closer, it's the end of an epic duology, and it just delivered in every imaginable sense. Especially because the trajectory of what Shelley Parker Chan set up in the first book was just so ambitious and so grand. I was curious to see how everything would wrap up in just 2 books, but they did the dang thing and nearly broke my brain and my soul in the process. I've always said that the thesis of this duology is the concept that being different is what makes you powerful, because you can't be gatekept if no one even knows to anticipate you or how to anticipate you in the first place, and I love how all the different characters play within that concept in vastly different ways. My second choice for best sequel would have to be, perhaps controversially, Harrow the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I'm not gonna lie, I think this sequel can be challenging in some ways. It sort of purposefully obfuscates what it's trying to do from the reader, which can potentially be frustrating if you're not down for the ride, but that's what makes it so exciting for me. When a story tries to shake me off, that's when I sink my teeth in. That's when I do my best work. I always joke that Harrow the Ninth especially is like the equivalent of literary gaslighting, and I mean that very sincerely. I realize that's also not a great sell, but my point is that the story is not unknowable just because it's complex. It's also fun, it's weird and mysterious, it has murder and really cool bone magic and this persistent sense of danger. It also has gender-bendy body swapping stuff, which I also love. And I think out of the 3 books so far, this one is definitely the most ambitious. Moving on. New release you haven't read yet, but want to. I had to consult ye olde spreadsheet for this one because there's just no good way to keep track of all the books I want to read. It's a mess. The Stolen Heir by Holly Black I still haven't read yet. Our Share of Night by Mariana Enriquez is one I'm also very excited about. A lot of my fellow Latina readers have enjoyed it and recommended it, but it's so chonky that I'm still not ready to commit. A little lesser known, but I still also want to read On Air with Zoe Washington, which is the sequel to From the Desk of Zoe Washington, one of my all-time favorite middle grade books. The Adventures of Amina El-Sarafi is probably the other big one I haven't read yet. I'm a firm believer in reading something at the right time, and for for some reason the time hasn't come yet, but I'm very confident that I'm going to love this because the Daevabad trilogy kicks so much ass, so why would I not enjoy this author's take on fantasy pirates? Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. God, there are so many, and I know I'm not going to be able to name all of them, but big hitters would have to be We Are the Crisis by Cadwell Turnbull, sequel to No Gods, No Monsters. That book rocked my world. The way it interrogates power dynamics between the oppressor and the oppressed, the way it flips the script on whether monsters pose a danger to humans, the way it understands how fear and anger guide every single one of us with an invisible hand, the way it explores how our concept of reality is nothing more than a social contract. It's just amazing. Definitely looking forward to Wolf Willow Witch by Freydis Moon, the sequel/companion to Heart Haunt Havoc. It's gonna be another queer, dark, creepy horror story, and I don't even need to read it to know it's gonna be awesome. The Spirit Bares Its Teeth by Andrew Joseph White. All of you know how hard I go for Hell Followed With Us, so that shouldn't be a surprise. Something Like Home by Andrea Beatriz Arengo is also way, way up there. Vampires of El Norte by Isabel Cañas is another sophomore novel I think is gonna absolutely whip ass. Thornhedge by T. Kingfisher is going to be awesome. I have to stop myself because there's just too many amazing releases coming up for the rest of 2023. Biggest surprise. This one's hard to answer because I know myself and my taste extremely well. Very rarely, if ever, do I start reading something without feeling pretty confident that it's something I would enjoy or something that would move me in some way. So for this one, I have to go with something I read spontaneously, and that was This Thing Between Us by Gus Moreno, which I have not stopped thinking about for the last, 6-7 months? This is deeply cerebral, psychological, cosmic horror. I had seen this cover around before, but I didn't know what it was about or how much it would absolutely fuck me up. And fuck me up it did. Very concisely, this story starts off when Thiago's wife has passed away and you learn that he believes she was killed by their smart speaker, Itza. And so the story goes back and chronicles when they moved into a new apartment, the weird and inexplicable things they experienced, and then getting the speaker, which seems to aggravate things. It's an exploration of how control is just illusion, how our conceptions of the way things should be and the way we should be is nothing but an elaborate farce. It's about the ways we haunt ourselves. I can't talk about this book. Please just read it. New favorite author. I don't consider authors to be favorite authors until I've read multiple books of theirs and I've loved all of them. Like, I need a track record for someone to be a favorite. And I don't usually decide that after having read one book unless it was a really, really special experience. Like, I don't know, Cemetery Boys. So with that sort of stipulation in mind, Raquel Marí solidified herself this year with You Don't Have a Shot, which was so much fun. Perfect summer read, great queer sports rivals to lovers romance. The other one who firmly solidified herself as an all-time favorite author would be Cat Sebastian. I had read both The Queer Principles of Kit Webb and The Perfect Crimes of Marian Hayes, but I wanted to also dip into her backlist and see whether it would be at that same caliber as her newer books, and now having read the entire Regency Imposters trilogy as well as her latest book, I can absolutely say that I will read anything she writes. Authors I'm going to be keeping an eye on as potential favorites would be Gus Moreno, Rafael Nicolas, Calvin Kasulke, Ash Van Otterloo, Camille Kellogg, Lamia H., Claudia Cravens, and C.E. McGill, just to name a few. A genre you'd like to explore more. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm pretty good about dabbling in all the genres. I read a lot of stuff. But I think for this, generally speaking, I'm gonna say sci-fi. I do read sci-fi and actually watch quite a bit of sci-fi, and I always enjoy it when I do. In fact, almost a fifth of my reading this year has been within that genre. But I always feel like I could use more sci-fi in my life. Best audiobook you've listened to. It's been a really good listening year as well. I really enjoyed listening to The Murder of Mr. Wickham and The Late Mrs. Willoughby by Claudia Gray. I thought this narrator was awesome. She brought so much personality to the characters, especially because both books have such a big cast. It was really fun to listen to both of those. I do have to mention the Locked Tomb books, which are all read by Moira Quirk. I fully believe it was her narration that allowed me to connect with the story and the characters so much. She pulls the humor and the weirdness of the series off so incredibly well. There could not have been a better choice of narrator for the series. St. Juniper's Folly by Alex Crespo was a really good one. It has 3 different narrators for each of the rotating points of view, so that was really great. Lucky Red by Claudia Cravens was expertly narrated. The narrator really captures that classic Western twang and also has a great sense of urgency, so I really enjoyed that. Nikhil Out Loud was also really fun to listen to. Malik Pancholi has done voice acting professionally and he reads his own audiobooks, and it's always such a pleasure to hear him bring those stories to life. Book that made you cry. Not to be an outfit repeater, but the world and all that it holds absolutely ruined me. If I think about it too much, just the memory of it will bring tears to my eyes. And of course, as part of the book's launch, Alexander did a bunch of touring to promote it, and I saw this virtual tour stop he did, and if I can find it, I'll link it down below. And just listening to him describe what he was attempting to explore about the human experience, what question he was trying to unearth about the world through writing this story, I cried so much. On the complete flip side of that, book that made you happy. Again, I really don't want to discredit any of the other books I've read this year. So many of them have really bolstered me and brought me so much joy, healing, and hope to my heart. But this one I have to give to We Could Be So Good by Cat Sebastian. The phrase feel good does not even begin to describe this book. It has nothing on this book. This story is just a great time from start to finish. The romance is so incredibly soft and full-hearted. It's like a no-plot, queer shenanigans only type of story, and I love it for that. It just works. It's funny, it's sexy, it's achingly earnest in a way that makes life worth living, which doesn't mean that it fails to contend with the realities of the time period it's set in. It does, but rather through understanding those realities, it makes the characters' pursuit of love and happiness all the more powerful in so many ways. Most beautiful book you've gotten this year. Now, I don't often go out of my way to get special editions. It's not super important to me, and these first two I actually found secondhand for a really great price. First, we have the Illumicrate edition of The Book Eaters by Sunyi Dean. I love everything about this. The alternate cover design is great. It has these beautiful black sprayed edges with a stencil design that really matches the cover and all these tiny stars. It has these creepy end papers with like red blotches, but most importantly, it has a design on the naked hardcover itself, which might be even better than the redesigned dust jacket. I love everything about this edition. More recently, I found this secondhand Illumicrate edition of Some Desperate Glory by Emily Tesh. So this one has these beautiful starry sprayed edges to match the cover. Underneath the jacket, it also has these incredible illustrations on the end pages. There's one set on the front and a completely different set in the back. And on the front of the naked hardback, there's this really great foiling detail and a tagline that says, "While we live, the enemy shall fear us. We are what's left. We are what must survive." I also can't do this question without mentioning the special Fae Crate edition of Reforged by Seth Haddon. I did pre-order this one myself. It's so rare for indie books especially to get cool special editions, and even though I do love the original cover, I just love this one so much. It has a completely new cover design that's still as aggressively gay as the original. It has gold gilded edges, a fully illustrated design inside the dust jacket, and then this stunning gold foiling on the naked hardback itself. Lastly, I do have to make some commotion about the dazzling Bookish Shop special editions of the Locked Tomb series with cover designs by the one and only Mars Lauterbach, aka the mastermind behind the covers of Cemetery Boys, The Sunbearer Trials, and hopefully many more books to come. There's amazing foiling details everywhere, and the edges of all three books have these intricate stencil designs, lots of bones, which is very much my aesthetic. And the back of each one has an iconic quote from that particular book as well. I actually took a chance on ordering these, and I'm super happy with them. I think Mars did a phenomenal job, and you can absolutely tell that these were created by someone who really loves the series. And finally, books you really need to read by the end of the year. Please don't hold me to any of these. This is not a TBR video. I am trying my best out here, but the ones that immediately come to mind are firstly, A Far Wilder Magic by Alison Saft. This book is literally Full Metal Alchemist fantasy AU. It is literally Royai fanfiction set in a Jewish-inspired fantasy world with a sharpshooter and a fire alchemist, and I just need to read it. I did actually get like 100 pages into this once. I tried listening to the audiobook, but I just was not processing it because I wasn't vibing with the narration, so I have to read it physically and just go back to page 1, but I'm gonna do it. I actually have an arc of Alison's next book, which looks like a really beautiful romantasy type story, and I absolutely will not read that until I have read this. Another repeat TBR offender is Beating Heart Baby by Leo Min. I am 100% certain I'm going to love this book. This book is for me. I need to read it. It's pitched as like a queer love letter to fans of anime and indie rock, which I famously am. There's some kind of orchestra or marching band aspect as well, and like Like every time I see an interview or a panel with Leo Min, I just think to myself, that is someone who gets it. I need to support this person's art in whatever way I can. I need to read their book. Another one that's been put on and taken off so many TBRs is The Story of the 100 Promises by Neil Cochran. This one's embarrassing because it's once again just absurdly in my wheelhouse. Trans fairy tale with Howl's Moving Castle vibes, loose retelling of Beauty and the Beast. I literally don't know what I'm waiting for at this point. The Beautiful Ones by Silvia Moreno Garcia is another one I haven't read yet. I've read almost every single novel that Silvia's ever written except for this one and The Daughter of Dr. Moreau, but because this is her most backlist title that I haven't read and because it's so different from all her other books as a historical romantasy, I really want to get to this one first. I am mentioning too many books, and I know that, but I've also been very in the mood to like start and finish series lately, especially shorter ones, and I would love if I could somehow read both books in the Teixcalon duology by Katie Martine in 2023. I'm not saying it's gonna happen, I'm just saying it would be cool if it did. And regarding actually like finishing series, knock on wood, let's keep that streak alive. So that is the mid-year check-in tag. Yes, this video would have been much shorter if I just stuck to the strength of my convictions and chose one book per prompt, but that was never gonna happen, and that is not who I am. I hope you enjoyed it regardless, and feel free to respond to any of these prompts yourself in the comments down below. But that is everything I had to share for today. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, educate yourself, be kind to yourself, take care of yourself, and I will catch you on the flip side of the page. Bye!